Myth 2. The story of Eros and Aphrodite. In a beautiful palace far up on Mount Olympus lived Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, and her young boy Eros. Eros, a bright little fellow, liked to play tricks and cause trouble whenever he could. His mother had given him a bow and Eros had become a skillful archer. Sometimes, though, he sent his arrows so carelessly that he wounded people without meaning to do so. The arrows were tiny, but the wounds they made did not heal easily. One day, Eros sat by a fountain, shooting at flowers in the pond. Suddenly, the water began to shine like liquid gold. Apollo, the god of light, appeared beside it. When Apollo saw what Eros was doing, he picked up the bundle of arrows, laughed, and threw them to the ground, breaking several. "Why, Eros," said Apollo, "are you playing with such warlike weapons?" He continued to tease Eros. "Butterflies and spiders must have left the fountain," Apollo said, "to escape the arrows and protect their lives." "Put these toys away," Apollo said. "Soon," he added, "you shall have a real bow and arrows, like mine, which have just killed the python." Not only had Apollo broken Eros's arrows, but he had hurt Eros's pride, which was even worse. Eros's face took red with fury. "Well, Apollo," he said, "your arrows may strike everything, but you shall someday be wounded by mine." Apollo laughed and thought to himself that he was not afraid of such tiny weapons. The fountain where Eros sat was filled with cool, sparkling water. Everyone who drank out of the fountain felt happy and calm. Enemies became friends at the fountain, and all worries were forgotten. It was the fountain of content. There was also a second fountain in Aphrodite's garden. This fountain was filled with bitter water. Those who drank this water became filled with unfriendly feelings toward everybody and everything. They began to dislike their best friends and wished to do them harm. This was the fountain of discontent. Eros wanted to punish Apollo, so he dipped one arrow into the sweet water and another arrow into the bitter water. Then he followed Apollo down into the beautiful Tempe Valley, the home of the river, God, and his daughter Daphne. Daphne was very pretty, with eyes that shone like stars, rosy cheeks, and a face filled with sunshine. She and Apollo were such good friends and often sat together and sang by the riverside. But then Eros did an awful thing. He shot the bitter arrow at Daphne. It did not hurt badly, but it changed her feelings of friendship toward Apollo to those of dislike and distrust. Then Eros shot the sweetened arrow at Apollo so that he wanted Daphne to be with him always. Apollo asked Daphne to leave her home and go with him in his chariot. Daphne was very angry that Apollo should ask her to leave the beautiful things which she loved, her home, the birds, and her own kind father. He turned and ran away, throwing her arms and crying out, "Oh, help me, Father! I do not wish to leave you. Take me and send Apollo away." It asks you who are the main characters in the story, to pick two of the characters you wrote about and describe those characters, and then write two pieces of evidence that reveal how Eros is feeling throughout the story and how the author reveals or shows Eros's emotions. Go ahead and stop this video now, go back into your resource packet so that you can answer those questions by typing it in.